The great chamber of the Galactic Concord was the quietest place in the known universe. It was not a peaceful quiet. It was the heavy, cold silence that comes before a final judgment. The room was a massive circle with seats rising up all around. In those seats were the representatives of a dozen different species. Some had fur, some had scales, and some had skin in colors of soft blue or gentle green. They were all still, all watching the giant screen in the center of the room. On that screen was the face of a Tovali elder. The Tovali were a people from a world of high mountains and soft winds. They looked like large, graceful birds covered in feathers the color of dawn, but now this elder's feathers were matted and burned. One of his eyes was swollen shut. His long, delicate neck trembled with exhaustion. His voice, when it came, was a rasping whisper that echoed in the terrible silence. We have heard the stories," he whispered. "We have heard tales of the new ones, the humans. We have heard of your strange and powerful idea. Pardon," he took a shaky breath. "Your history says you can forgive, that you can show mercy, even to those who have wronged you. We are not asking for ourselves. We are gone. But for the last of our children hiding in the deep caves, we beg you, intervene, grant them sanctuary, pardon them from this fate." In the human section of the chamber, Captain Ji-hyun stood perfectly still. She was a woman with a calm face and dark, serious eyes. She did not move a muscle as she listened to the plea. Beside her, a man named Min-soo sat at a small console. His fingers moved quickly and silently over the screen. He was not a soldier. He was a communications technician and an expert in language. While the others heard the Tovali's words, Min-soo was listening to the sound beneath the words. His equipment measured the subtle cracks in the elder's voice, the tiny vibrations of pure terror. There was no lie in it. This was the true sound of a species facing its end. From another part of the chamber, a different sound erupted. It was a low, guttural laugh like stones grinding together. The Cathar ambassador stood up. He was a massive creature, a full head taller than any human. His body was covered in thick, overlapping scales of a dull military gray. His head was reptilian with a short snout and a mouth full of sharp teeth. But his eyes were the most frightening part. They were solid black like chips of obsidian, and they showed no emotion at all. "The Tovali are weak," the Cathar said, his voice a harsh boom. "Their song is finished. The strong do not beg. The strong take what they need." He turned his black eyes toward the human delegation. "But you are new to the conquered. You speak always of peace, of understanding. You will, of course, do the reasonable thing. You will pardon our necessary aggression. You will stand aside. It is the logical choice." Captain Ji-hyun did not look at the Cathar ambassador. She did not argue. She simply turned her head, gave a single, slow nod to the broken Tovali elder on the screen, and then turned and walked away. Her team followed her without a word. The heavy doors of the chamber sealed behind them, leaving the silence and the waiting eyes. The walk to their ship, the Resolute Spirit, was a short one through a clean, bright corridor. No one spoke. The air was thick with the things they had seen and heard. Only when the inner airlock of their ship hissed closed, and the familiar hum of its engines surrounded them, did the tension seem to become something they could almost touch. Ji-hyun led them directly to the briefing room. It was a small, functional space with a simple table and a view screen showing a star chart. She stood at the head of the table. Min-soo sat down, his body feeling heavy. Across from him was Jin, the ship's head of security. Jin had a strong jaw and a quiet intensity. He was already studying the tactical readout of the Tovali system on the screen. Next to Jin was Sumin, the team's xenoarchaeologist and historian. She had a tablet in her hand, her face pale. "Report," Ji-hyun said. Her voice was calm, but it carried a weight that demanded truth. Jin spoke first. He always did when the topic was conflict. "Captain, the Cathar fleet has a full blockade around the Tovali homeworld. 3 heavy destroyers, at least a dozen support cruisers. Our ship has minimal defensive systems. We are a diplomatic vessel. A direct military intervention it is not possible. It would be suicide." He said the last word with a flat finality. Ji-hyun's gaze shifted to Sumin. The historical context. Sumin lifted her tablet, but she didn't need to look at it. The data was etched in her mind. The Cathar are what we call a predatory expansionist species. This is not their first culling. Our records, pieced together from conquered fragments, show they have done this at least 3 times before. The pattern is always the same. They find a peaceful advanced species. They provoke a conflict. They overwhelm them. And when the victim begs for mercy from the wider galaxy, the other species, hoping to avoid a larger war, offer pardon to the Cathar. They forgive the aggression. They look the other way. She looked around the table, her eyes serious. The Cathar strategy relies on the mercy of others. They use it as a weapon. Every time they are pardoned, they grow stronger. They take the resources of the world they destroyed, and they move on to the next one. They see pardon not as kindness, but as weakness, as permission. Minsu finally found his voice. It was soft, but it cut through the room. They don't just expect a pardon, he said, looking at the data Su Min had shared. Their entire culture, their whole way of war, is built on the assumption that mercy is a synonym for stupidity, for fear. They think we will pardon them because we are afraid to fight. Jin slammed a fist on the table, a short, sharp sound. Then we show them they are wrong. We call the fleet. We send a message of our own. We might not win, but we can make them bleed. And in doing so, we would leave the Tavali children to die in the crossfire, Ji-hyun said, her voice still quiet. We would become just another actor in their violent play. We would be playing by their rules. Then what? Jin asked, frustration in his voice. What other move is there? We cannot pardon them. Su Min is right. To pardon them is to help them. It is to sign the death warrant for the next species they target. A deep silence fell over the room. The problem was a trap with no visible exit. Fight and die uselessly, or pardon and become complicit. Min-Su was not looking at the star chart or the tactical displays. He was staring at his own console, at the sound wave analysis from the Tavali Elder's plea. The line on the screen was jagged and chaotic, a physical representation of terror. He remembered the Cathar ambassador's voice, the smooth, arrogant certainty. He thought about the stories of the other species, the ones who were gone. He looked up at Captain Ji-hyun. Her face was still a mask, but he saw something new in her eyes. It wasn't confusion. It was a cold, sharp clarity. They have asked for our pardon, Min-Su said slowly, thinking it through as he spoke. They believe it is a transaction. We give them forgiveness and they get to keep what they have stolen. They see it as a simple, logical deal. Ji-hyun nodded very slowly. They have mistaken our morality for a currency. They believe our greatest virtue is a button they can press to get what they want. She looked at each of them in turn, at Jin's fiery determination, at Su Min's historical sorrow, at Min-Su's analytical calm. They are about to learn a very painful lesson. What lesson? Jin asked. That some messages, Ji-hyun said, her voice dropping to a near whisper, cannot be spoken. They must be etched. She turned to the view screen where the Cathar blockade hung over the beautiful blue and green world of the Tavali. Su Min, you and your team will begin a deep-level analysis. I want every piece of data the Conquered has on the Cathar. Every conquest, every communication, everything. Su Min nodded, a new purpose in her eyes. Yes, Captain. Jin, you will analyze their fleet communications. I want to know how they talk to each other. What are their public channels? Their private soldier bands? Jin gave a sharp nod. Understood. Finally, she turned to Min-Su. Min-Su, you are the key. When they bring us their data, you will find the story they are not telling. You will listen. You will find the truth they have hidden. Min-Su felt a chill that was not unpleasant. It was the chill of focus. The weight of the Tavali Elder's plea was still in his ears, but now it was mixed with the captain's resolve. What are we looking for, Captain? He asked. Ji-hyun's gaze was fixed on the star-dusted blackness of the screen. We are looking for a mirror, she said. A very, very sharp one. The hum of the Resolute Spirit's engines was a constant low sound. It was the sound of waiting. In the quiet of the ship, the crew worked. They were not preparing for a battle of lasers and missiles. They were preparing for a different kind of fight. Captain Ji-hyun stood on the bridge looking at the main screen. It showed a live feed from the Galactic Concorde. The other species were still talking. They were discussing the human question. What would the humans do? Most believed the humans would follow the old pattern. They would give a pardon. It was the easiest way. It was the peaceful way. But Ji-hyun knew that some kinds of peace were just another name for death. She turned from the screen. Report, she said. Su Min was the first to speak. Her voice was tired but clear. Captain, the data is... It is worse than we thought. The Cathar do not just conquer. They record everything. They keep detailed records of their work. She brought up files on the screen. They were not battle plans. They were lists. Lists of Tavali cities. Next to each city was a date and a single word. Cleansed. There were logs of resource shipments, metals, fuels, foods, all taken from the Tavali world and sent back to Cathar space. It is like they are managing a business, Su Min said. The destruction of a species is just a project to them. They are very efficient. Ji Hyun's face was hard. Show me the older records. The other species they have done this to. Su Min nodded. She brought up another file. The screen showed a different species. These ones were small, with large, gentle eyes. The Elith, Su Min said. They lived in great libraries carved into crystals. The Cathar wanted their planet for its rare minerals. The Conquered pardoned the Cathar attack. The Elith are gone now. Their crystal libraries were ground into dust. She brought up another file. A species that looked like they were made of woven light. The Lumen, she said. The Cathar believed their light was a power source they could use. They were pardoned by the Concord after they promised to stop. They did not stop. The Lumen are also gone. 3 species, all gone, all pardoned. The pattern is clear, Su Min finished. A pardon does not stop them. It helps them. It gives them time to finish their work and move on to the next target. Jin spoke next. I have been listening to their military communications. Their leaders speak in a special code. It is very clean, very professional. They talk about asset recovery and population management. They never use words like kill or destroy. He played a recording. A cold, calm Cathar voice said, Sector 7 asset recovery is complete. The local population has been relocated, Jin repeated, his voice tight with anger. They were thrown into burning buildings. But, Jin continued, I also found something else. The common soldiers, the ones on the ships and on the ground, they do not use the special code. They have their own, simpler channels. They talk to each other there. They are not so calm, they brag. They complain, they laugh. He played another recording. This voice was younger, rougher. Did you see the way that one flew? Like a little feathery toy. I got it with one shot. Laughter echoed in the background of the recording. On the bridge, the laughter sounded very ugly. Ji Hyun turned to Min Soo. He had been quiet, sitting at his station with a headset on. His face was pale. Min Soo, the captain said, What have you found? Min Soo took a deep breath. He took off the headset. His hands were shaking a little. I have been in their archives, he said. His voice was hollow. Su Min was right. They record everything. But it is not just lists and reports. He looked at the captain, his eyes wide. They make personal logs. The commanders. They record their thoughts after a battle. They record. Interrogations. He swallowed hard. Captain, it is not war. It is artistry. They are artists of suffering. They are proud of their work. He turned to his console. I found a log from the Cathar commander on the Tavali homeworld. He is not talking about strategy. He is talking about breaking them. Min Soo played the recording. A new Cathar voice filled the bridge. It was deep and smooth, almost thoughtful. The Tavali have a strong group mind, the voice said. They draw strength from their songs. So the key is not to break their bodies first. The key is to break their song. Today we bombed their great nesting spires. We did not bomb the spires where the fighters were. We bombed the spires where the young were learning the oldest songs. The silence after the bombs fell. It was more powerful than any explosion. You could feel their hope die. It was beautiful. The recording ended. The bridge was utterly silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Min Soo played another. This one was a video file. It was dark and shaky. It showed a Cathar soldier standing over a captured Tavali. The Tavali was trembling, its feathers ruffled. The Cathar soldier was not hurting it. He was talking to it. Sing for me, the soldier said, his voice a low growl. Sing your pretty song. The Tavali remained silent, too terrified to move. Sing. The soldier roared. The Tavali let out a small broken chirp. The Cathar soldier laughed. That is not a song. That is the sound of a weak thing. You are nothing. Your song is nothing. Your people are nothing. He turned off the recorder. Min Soo stopped the playback. He put his head in his hands for a moment. Then he looked up at Ji Hyun. His eyes were wet with tears of anger and horror. They keep these, Captain. They keep these as trophies. They study them. They learn how to cause more pain more efficiently for the next time. Jin slammed his fist on his console. Monsters, he hissed. Su-min, Ji-hyun said, her voice dangerously calm. Is this normal for them? This detailed cruelty? Su-min nodded slowly. From the fragments we have of the other species, yes. The Cathar believe that true strength is not just physical victory. It is the complete destruction of the enemy's spirit. They believe that if you break a species' spirit, you erase them from the universe forever. No one will remember them. No one will sing their songs. It is a deeper death. Ji-hyun walked to the center of the bridge. She looked at the faces of her crew. She saw the horror. She saw the rage. She saw the despair. We cannot fight them with guns, Jin said, his voice tight, but we cannot pardon them. So what do we do? What can we do? Ji-hyun's eyes went back to the main screen. The Galactic Concord was still waiting. The Cathar were still waiting. They were all waiting for the humans to be reasonable, to be peaceful, to pardon. They are waiting for a word from us, Ji-hyun said. A single word. Pardon? She shook her head. But words are not enough. They have used words to hide their crimes. They use clean words for dirty work. She turned to Min-soo. You said they are artists. They create these recordings as their art. Min-soo nodded. Then we will become art critics, Ji-hyun said. A cold, hard light was in her eyes. We will not send them a word. We will send them back their own art. We will hold up their mirror. Min-soo understood first. His eyes widened. The common channels. The soldier channels Jin found. Yes, Ji-hyun said. We will not send this to their leaders. Their leaders already know. They are proud of it. We will send it to their soldiers. To their mechanics. To their cooks. To the young Cathar who joined the fleet because they were told it was for glory. But Captain, Su-min said, their culture, they teach that this is strength. Will they even understand? They will understand, Min-soo said quietly. He looked at the video of the soldier torturing the Tovali. He was not just following orders. He was enjoying it. He knew it was wrong. That is why he was bragging. That is why he recorded it. You do not brag about something you think is normal. You brag about something you know is forbidden. Deep down they know, Ji-hyun nodded. We will make them see what they have become. We will etch their own actions into their minds. We will make it so they cannot look away. She gave the orders. Jin, you will prepare our communication array. Maximum power. We will broadcast on every common Cathar channel you have found. Jin stood up straight. Yes, Captain. Su-min, you and Min-soo will work together. You will build the message. Use their own records. Use the Tavali, please. Use the commander's proud logs. Use the soldier's cruel bragging. Put it all together. Do not edit it. Do not explain it, just show it. Su-min and Min-soo looked at each other. The task was terrible. They would have to live in that horror, to arrange it, to shape it into a weapon. We will do it, Min-soo said. The crew of the Resolute Spirit went to work. They were no longer waiting. They were building something. It was not a ship. It was not a bomb. It was a message made from the truth, a message that would be etched into the soul of the Cathar race. The bridge of the Resolute Spirit was a place of quiet, focused energy. The gentle hum of the ship's systems was now accompanied by the soft, urgent sounds of work. Min-soo and Su-min sat side by side at a large console, their faces lit by the glow of multiple screens. On these screens played the worst moments of the Tovali genocide, all from the Cathar's own records. Min-soo's job was the sound. He had to weave the pieces together. He started with the clear, desperate voice of the Tovali elder from the Concord chamber. We beg you, grant us sanctuary. Then, without a pause, he cut to the cold, smooth voice of the Cathar commander. The silence after the bombs fell. It was beautiful. The contrast was jarring. It was sickening. Su-min worked on the images. She found footage from a Cathar helmet camera. It showed a Tovali city from the air, its graceful nest-like buildings shining in the sun. Then a bright flash. The screen turned to static for a second before showing the same city now as a smoking ruin. She paired this with the Cathar logistics report that simply listed the city as sector cleared. They did not speak much. The work was too heavy for words. Sometimes Min-soo would have to stop and close his eyes, taking a deep breath. Sometimes Su-min would reach over and silently hand him a cup of water. They were building a weapon from horror, and its poison was touching them too. Across the bridge, Jin and his team were preparing the delivery system. The Resolute Spirit's main communication array was a powerful piece of technology, designed for sending complex diplomatic messages across star systems. Today it would be used for something very different. The Cathar fleet uses a rotating set of frequencies for their common soldiers, Jin explained to the captain. They think it is secure. It is not. We can broadcast on all of them at once. It will be like shouting in a room where everyone is whispering. Ji-hyun stood behind him, watching the technical data scroll down the screen. How long can we broadcast before they find a way to stop us? Jin thought for a moment. Not long. 10, maybe 15 minutes. Their tech officers are good. They will eventually be able to block our signal or change their frequencies. But for those 10 minutes, every Cathar with an open comms unit will hear it. They will see it. 10 minutes is all we need, Ji-hyun said. A message like this does not need time to explain itself. It only needs a moment to be heard. She walked over to Min-soo and Soo-min. Is it ready? Min-soo looked up, his eyes tired. It is ready, Captain. He gestured to the final file on his screen. It was a continuous stream of video and audio, 30 minutes long. It was a journey into hell, told by the demons who built it. Play me the first minute, Ji-hyun said. Min-soo nodded and hit a key. The main bridge screen lit up. It started with the Tavali elder's face, his feathers burned, his eye swollen. His whispered plea for a pardon filled the room. Then as his last word faded, the screen cut to the Cathar ambassador in the conquered chamber laughing. The strong do not beg. They take. Then, immediately it showed the helmet camera footage of the city being destroyed, set to the commander's voice talking about the beautiful silence. It was only 60 seconds. But it was a 60-second punch to the stomach. Ji-hyun watched it without any expression. When it ended, she was silent for a long time. That is, effective, she finally said. Her voice was flat. Load it. Prepare for broadcast. The Resolute Spirit moved. It was a quiet, careful approach. They did not head straight for the Tavali homeworld. That would have been suicide. Instead, they moved to the edge of the star system, to a point of weak gravitational pull where their signal could spread wide and far. On the bridge, the mood was tense. They were not soldiers going into battle, but they felt the same fear, the same anticipation. Entering broadcast position now, the pilot said. Cathar fleet is on standard patrol patterns, Jin reported from his station. They have seen us. They are hailing us. Ignore them, Ji-hyun said. The Cathar hail blinked on the main screen, a red, angry light. They were waiting for the human ship to announce its surrender, to offer its pardon. Communication array is powered, Jin said. All frequencies are locked. Ji-hyun stood in the center of the bridge. She looked at Min-soo. Send the message. Min-soo took a deep breath. His finger hovered over the key. For a moment he saw the Tavali elder's face. He heard the broken chirp of the captive. Then he pressed it. On his screen a single word appeared. Broadcasting. For a moment nothing happened. There was only the hum of the ship. Then Jin started reading from his monitor. His voice was low and steady, reporting the impossible. Signal is going out. It's hitting their fleet. I'm reading. Confusion on their public channels. Multiple ships are reporting. Unidentified data bursts on soldier bands. He paused, listening to his earpiece. One of their destroyers is reporting. Crew distress. Some soldiers are. They are shutting off their comms units. Another ship is reporting a fight on the mess deck, a fight among their own crew. The message was working. It was a virus and it was spreading. On the main screen, Jin brought up a visual of the Cathar fleet. Little lights representing their ships started to blink erratically. Their neat, organized formation began to loosen, like a knot coming undone. They're trying to block us, Jin said, his fingers flying over his console. Their tech officers are scrambling the frequencies. But we're still getting through on some bands. The message is out. It's in their system now. Min-soo watched the data flow. He imagined a young Cathar gunner, sitting at his post listening to the bragging of the soldier on the recording. He imagined that gunner looking at the Tavali world below and realizing what relocated really meant. He imagined a Cathar cook, hearing the Tavali elder beg for the children and then hearing his own commander call that silence beautiful. He imagined the dawning horror, the shame, the anger. The bridge was silent, waiting for the next report. Then Jin looked up, his eyes wide with a kind of shocked disbelief. Captain, the Cathar flagship. It's hailing us again, but it's not the official channel. It's a priority emergency channel. Put it on screen, Ji-hyun said. The main screen flickered. The face of the Cathar ambassador appeared. But the cold, arrogant creature from the Concord was gone. This face was contorted. The scales around his mouth were twitching. His black eyes were wide with a confused, boiling fury. What is this? He snarled, his voice raw. What poison is this? This is not a pardon. This is madness. Captain Ji-hyun took a single step forward. She looked at the furious, confused face on her screen. Her own expression was calm, but her eyes were like ice. You asked for our pardon, she said, her voice clear and cutting. You believed our mercy was your right. You were wrong. She paused, letting the words hang in the space between the ships. This is not a pardon, she said. This is a message. Etched into the history you tried to erase, and etched into the souls you thought you didn't have. On the screen, the Cathar ambassador stared, his mouth slightly open. He had no words. For the first time, his logic, his certainty had failed him completely. He could not understand this weapon. He could not fight it. The transmission cut off. The screen went back to the starfield. The bridge of the Resolute Spirit was utterly silent. The only sound was the steady hum of the ship, carrying them through the dark. The silence on the bridge of the Resolute Spirit was heavy. It was the silence after a storm. But the storm was not outside. It was inside the minds of the Cathar. On the main screen, the view of the Tavali system was calm. The Cathar fleet still hung in space around the planet. But something was wrong. The ships were no longer in their tight, perfect formation. They drifted, their positions loose and uncoordinated. Jin was the first to break the quiet. His voice was low, reporting the data from his console. The broadcast has stopped. They managed to block our main signal. But the secondary channels, the damage is done. He looked up, his face a mixture of awe and unease. I am picking up fragmented communications from their fleet. It is chaos. He played a few of the intercepted messages over the bridge speaker. First, a young, panicked voice. Never said it was like that. They said we were bringing order. That was a child. I saw the transmission cut into static, then an older, harsher voice full of rage. Disobey a direct order. Return to your station or you will be. The sound of a scuffle, then a cry, then nothing. Another voice, trembling and weak. The silence. He said it was beautiful. I heard him. By the stars, I heard him. Minsu listened, his stomach tight. He had built the message. He knew every terrible second of it. But hearing the real-time effect, the raw, broken confusion in these alien voices made it feel different. It was no longer an idea. It was a reality. He had helped break these people. Even if they were monsters, the sound of their breaking was not a pleasant thing. Sumin stood beside him, her arms crossed tightly. They are confronting their own actions, she whispered. Their whole society is built on not looking at the truth. You have forced them to look. On the screen, one of the Cathar destroyers, a large knife-like ship, suddenly veered off its course. It turned its nose away from the planet and began to accelerate. It was not moving toward the Resolute Spirit. It was moving away. One of their destroyers is breaking formation, Jin announced, his voice sharp with surprise. They are leaving. They are heading for the system's edge. A moment later, a different ship, a smaller cruiser, fired its engines and followed the first. Then, it happened to a third ship. It was not an organized retreat. It was an unraveling. Some ships turned to leave. Others turned to face the ones that were leaving as if to block them. The Cathar fleet was turning on itself. Multiple ships are targeting each other, Jin said, his voice rising. Not us, each other. I am reading weapons powering up. But they are not firing. It is a standoff. The main communication panel on the bridge lit up with a frantic priority hail. It was from the Cathar flagship. Jin looked at Ji-hyun. She gave a single slow nod. The face that appeared on the screen was the Cathar fleet admiral. He was even larger than the ambassador, his scales marked with medals of past conquests. But now his way-in was gone. His head crest was flattened in agitation. His black eyes darted around, unable to focus. Human vessel, he roared, but the roar had a crack in it. What sorcery is this? You have infected my fleet. You have broken my warrior's will. Captain Ji-hyun stood calmly before the screen. We have shown them the truth of their work, she said. That is all. The truth? The Admiral spat. This is war. This is the natural order. The strong consume the weak. They know this. Do they? Ji-hyun asked, her voice quiet but firm. Your soldier who bragged about shooting a Tovali like a toy, did he sound like a proud warrior following the natural order? Or did he sound like a cruel child who knew he was doing wrong and enjoyed it anyway? The Admiral was silent. He had no answer. Your commander who found beauty in the silence of dying children. Does that sound like strength? Or does it sound like a sickness? You do not understand our ways. The Admiral shouted, but it was a desperate sound. I understand that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Ji-hyun said. You believed your chain was made of steel. You believed your soldiers were mindless tools. We have just shown you that the weakest link in your chain is a conscience, and we have shown that link the weight of its actions. As she spoke, the data on Jin's screen told the rest of the story. The internal fighting within the fleet was getting worse. 2 ships had exchanged warning shots. On another, a full-scale mutiny had been reported. The Admiral was receiving these reports on his own console, his eyes flicking down to read them, his face growing more and more horrified. He was losing his fleet. Not to enemy weapons, but to an idea, to a reflection. He looked back at Ji-hyun, his body seeming to shrink. The fury was gone, replaced by a bewildered defeat that he could not comprehend. You have not won, he stammered. We have not fought you, Ji-hyun replied. We have no need to. You are fighting yourselves. And you are losing. She took a step closer to the screen. Your blockade is broken. Your fleet is in disarray. You will order a full withdrawal from the Tovali system. You will leave this world and its people alone forever. The Admiral stared at her. The order was a humiliation. It was the end of his career. It was a stain on the Cathar Empire. But he looked at the reports of his crumbling fleet. He saw that to stay was to watch his own ships destroy each other. He looked broken. If we withdraw, will you stop the broadcast? Will you take back this poison? Ji-hyun shook her head. The message is already sent. It is etched. You cannot unhear it. You cannot unsee it. It is part of your history now. The only choice you have is what you do next. Withdraw or watch your empire tear itself apart, starting with this fleet. There was a long, heavy silence. The Admiral looked down, defeated. He reached a clawed hand to his own console and entered a code. He spoke in his own guttural language, his voice flat and empty. He is giving the order. Jin translated quietly. Full withdrawal. All ships are to disengage and return to Cathar space. On the main screen, the view of the Cathar fleet changed. The ships that were pointing weapons at each other slowly powered them down. The ships that were trying to leave now turned together, forming a ragged, shameful line. They began to move away from the Tovali world. Their movements slow and clumsy like wounded animals. The planet, a beautiful sphere of blue and green, was free. On the bridge of the Resolute Spirit, no one cheered. The relief was too deep, too mixed with the strange and terrible cost of their victory. They had saved a world without firing a single shot. They had defeated an enemy by showing it its own soul. Min-soo watched the Cathar fleet retreat. He thought of the panicked young voice on the comms. He hoped that soldier, wherever he was, would find a way to live with what he now knew. Captain Ji-hyun turned from the screen. Her face was still calm, but the tension in her shoulders was gone. It is done, she said. The Cathar fleet was gone. The space around the Tovali homeworld was empty, except for the small, quiet human ship. On the bridge of the Resolute Spirit, the crew watched the stars. The immediate danger was over, but a strange quiet filled the air. It was not a happy quiet. It was the quiet that comes after a great and terrible effort. Min-soo sat at his station. His body felt heavy. He looked at his hands, the hands that had put together the horrible message. He had used the worst sounds and images he had ever seen as his tools. He knew it was necessary. He knew they had saved the Tovali. But a part of him felt dirty. He felt like he had touched something dark, and some of that darkness was now stuck to him. Jin was checking the long-range sensors. The last Cathar ship has left the system, he reported. His voice was professional, but he too looked tired. He was a soldier. He was trained to fight with weapons, with ships. This victory felt strange to him. It did not feel like a clean win. It felt like they had used a different kind of weapon, one that left no visible scars but hurt in a deeper way. Su-min was studying the data from the planet below. Life signs are stable. The major Tovali population centers are beginning to show movement. They are coming out of hiding. She allowed herself a small, sad smile. They are alive. Captain Ji-hyun stood in the center of the bridge. She looked at her crew. She saw the exhaustion on their faces. She saw the questions in their eyes. They had done something that had never been done before. They had changed the rules. But what did it mean? The communication console beeped softly. It was not a frantic hail from an enemy. It was a clean, simple signal from the planet's surface. "It's the Tavali," Jin said. "The Elder. He is asking to speak to you, Captain." Ji-hyun nodded. "Put him on screen." The main screen changed. The face of the Tavali Elder appeared. He was still in what looked like a dark cave, but his feathers had been smoothed. His one good eye was clear and bright. The trembling in his neck was gone. "Captain Ji-hyun," the Elder said, his voice still soft, but now it was strong. "We saw the Cathar ships turn on each other. We saw them leave. Our scouts report. They are gone. Our world is quiet again." He paused and bowed his head deeply. "We owe you our lives. The lives of our children. We thank you." "You are welcome," Ji-hyun replied. "We are glad you are safe." The Elder lifted his head. His eye was full of a deep, knowing light. "We listened. We heard your broadcast. We heard our own pleas. We heard the other sounds." He meant the Cathar recordings. "You did not give them what they asked for. You did not give them a pardon." "No," Ji-hyun said. "We did not." The Elder was silent for a moment, thinking. In all the history of the conquered, the answer to such aggression has always been the same. A pardon, a looking away. It was a word that meant, "We are afraid to fight, so we will pretend you did nothing wrong." It was a word that helped the Cathar grow stronger. He looked directly at Ji-hyun. "You have changed the meaning of that word. From this day, pardon will not mean weakness. It will mean a choice to show mercy or a choice to show what you showed." "It is a powerful word now." "A dangerous word," Ji-hyun nodded. She understood. The Elder continued. "What you did, we have no word for it in our language. The Cathar have no word for it. The conquered has no word for it. It was not an attack. It was not a pardon. It was a showing, a revealing." He took a slow breath. "So, we will make a new word. We will create it today, and we will teach it to our children. Our new word will mean the truth that breaks chains." On the bridge, the crew listened. Minsu felt a weight lift from his heart. The Tavali understood. They did not see the message as a dirty, horrible thing. They saw it as a key that had unlocked their prison. "Thank you," Ji-hyun said to the Elder. "That is a good word." The transmission ended. The screen returned to the view of the peaceful planet. The silence on the bridge was different now. It was a softer quiet, a thoughtful quiet. Sumin was the first to speak. "He is right, you know. The Galactic conquered. They will be talking about this for a long time. We have not just saved one world. We have changed the way everyone thinks." Jin nodded slowly. "The Cathar will not be able to use their old tricks anymore. Every species will know what a pardon from humanity might really mean. It might mean forgiveness, or it might mean a mirror." Minsu finally stood up. He walked over to the large window and looked out at the stars. He thought about the Cathar soldiers, hearing the truth. He thought about the Tavali children, now safe in their nests. He thought about the new word being born on the planet below. They had not fought a battle of good against evil. It was more complicated than that. They had fought a battle of truth against lies, and the truth had won. Captain Ji-hyun came to stand beside him. She also looked out at the infinite dark, dotted with points of light. "They believed we would pardon them," she said softly. "They thought it was our nature. They thought it made us weak." Minsu looked at her. "What do we tell the Concord when they ask what we did?" Ji-hyun gave a small, sharp smile. "We tell them we sent a message. A simple message. And we etched it so deeply that the universe will never be able to forget it." In the quiet of the ship, flying away from the saved world, that was enough. They had not chosen the easy path. They had chosen the right one. And, across the galaxy, the meaning of mercy had changed forever.